Republicans, now desperately trying to avoid talking about their convicted felon, have resurrected years-old COVID conspiracies that I guess they just weren't tired of getting proven wrong of yet, calling Fauci into Congress in hopes to fish for anything that they could then use against him for clips on social media, the only thing Republicans even care about. And well, it went just about as bad as you could imagine, with Democrats also directly on their heels and calling them out at every turn. So I thought we could look at some of the best clips and fill in the gaps where I see fit.
How much have you earned from royalties from pharmaceutical companies since the pandemic began in 2021?
Zero.
It says NIH scientists made $710 million in royalties from drug makers. You're saying that you did not receive any of the $710 million.
On COVID, I received, I think, $122 for a monoclonal antibody that I made 27 years ago.
Now that's just absolutely hilarious. It shows how little they know about what they're talking about. They're literally just fishing in hopes to catch something. And she's also citing the New York Post in a congressional hearing, which is extra funny, extra stupid. Now, to be clear, the overwhelming majority of the money she's talking about comes from settlements from Moderna and Pfizer paying for patents that were used in the creation of the vaccine. It's not like they're just like throwing money at scientists to create things. No, it's from decades old patents that they are using for the testing and, as Fauci said, for different diagnostic reasons. And it's not to mention that Fauci's department donates any royalties that they receive anyway. They don't profit off of them. And he knew exactly how much he had gotten, a measly $100 from something he developed 3 decades ago. Arrest him instantly. And if Republicans wanted private money out of the medical sector, maybe they should stop trying to privatize the medical sector. I don't know. That sounds pretty obvious to me. This is an absolutely stupid line of questioning from someone who is adamantly against universal health care, something that would instantly remove privatization and private money from healthcare in favor of things like Romney Care, which would fully privatize the sector.
Did you cite this article at the White House because the NIH director asked you to suppress the lab leak theory?
I did not do that in response to anybody's suggestion to suppress anything. It was in response to a question that someone asked at the podium. And I did not edit any paper as shown in my official testimony. So you said about 4 or 5 things, Congressman, that were just not true.
Well, we have emails to prove it.
Well, you don't.
Thank you, and I yield back.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. And by the way, no, we don't have it. So I get tired of hearing we've got it, and then when we ask for it, it's not there. We do not have it.
Now, this one is even funnier. The direct call out immediately after she lied is exactly how this should go. And I just wonder what she's thinking in her head. She really thought she would get away with it, but you shouldn't be able to say things on record that are patently false. And I mean, she really tried it, but like all Republicans, she got exposed for telling something that's nothing but a bunch of lies that just sounded good in her head.
Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci?
I am a scientist who uses the scientific method to gain information.
Yes, you said you represent science. Do you represent science, Mr. Fauci? Yes or no? Yes or no?
I was not here, but I saw a member of this committee questioned whether or not you represent science and tried to make that in some offensive way. I just want you to know most Americans don't think she represents Congress.
Jesus Christ, that was brutal. Notice how Marjorie is always trying to do the antics, use photos, play semantics. She never mentions data. She never mentions facts. She never mentions evidence. And that's why it's so easier for her to get absolutely steamrolled by Democrats and the likes of Moskowitz, because she's not saying anything that's hard to counter. If you want to make your point, do so with substance, or else you're going to look stupid. You're resorting to elementary like recess insults in hopes that you can just clip it up for your Twitter, and that just gets you absolutely laughed out of the building by actual intellectuals.
Well, what they did is that they testified before this committee. What they did, they went back and looked at the sequences and realized that their initial concern was unfounded about that, and it did not look at all like it was manufactured. But as they said in their paper, even though they feel it was more likely.
3 days, they figured it out.
That's exactly. You could do that in 3 days. You can scan sequences in a day. You don't need 3 days.
Now, imagine someone as ignorant to science, medicals, anything educational as Jim Jordan trying to question a medical professional on science. The consensus is that it is unknown, and we can't be sure either way. However, most agencies lean towards it originating in nature. The NIH feels this way, but stated they are open to the possibility of a lab leak. Same with the CDC. The intelligence community has ruled out it being developed as a biological weapon or being genetically engineered, leaving only the FBI, which is Christopher Wray is super conservative, to say that, oh, it was a lab leak, and the Department of Energy said so with a low confidence assessment, something that's not meant to be taken as facts or serious in any way. They only chimed in as they oversee labs that were undecided on the matter, so somebody wanted a ruling, leaving literally no one. And I love how Fauci corrects him that what you're saying is so preposterous to happen in 3 days could happen in 1 day, let alone what he's trying to say is so impractical.
Talked about how, we live in partisan times, a lot of misinformation, and, colleagues on this body said, you should be charged and found guilty. Of course, the only one that's happened to is your former boss.
I want to join my colleague from Florida in apologizing to you that some of our colleagues in the United States House of Representatives seem to want to drag your name through the mud. They're treating you, Dr. Fauci, like a convicted felon. Actually, you probably wish they were treating you like a convicted felon. They treat convicted felons with love and admiration.
Democrats are just so much better at this at every single turn than Republicans. It doesn't matter if they're trying to cite statistics out of context. Democrats will provide the right context and the right statistics. It doesn't matter if they're just trying to insult you. Democrats are going to roast you twice as hard. You got to love how Republicans now just have to try and stoop low on everything and forego any civility politics, because for the longest time, Democrats would adhere to those civility politics, only now to just get destroyed and embarrassed by multiple members on the left. This whole thing boils down to a sham. They're wasting more of your taxpayer dollars to try to aesthetically please their base. The nonsense about COVID has already been hashed out. It's not even an issue anymore. It's a non-starter to talk about. No one buys into these weak conspiracy theories that they're trying to resurrect that isn't already fully bought into their cult. And this is just, again, a sad attempt at trying to distract from the convicted felon leading their party and the chaos and turmoil within that they're all experiencing.